with Louisiana Heart Beats. I'm Sudie Landry, and with me today is author J.H. Crane. He's the author of, the name of the story is Child of the King. He's released, as you can see the background, that beautiful graphics showing behind us, The Child of the King. He is here to share with us and get it out there that this book is there, and he's going to let us know a little bit of what it's about. First of all, welcome to the show, James.
Thank you, Sudie.
James, why is it that you wrote this book? What was the purpose behind writing this book? What inspired you?
I think it was one of these things that just came all of a sudden. I didn't have a long aspiration to write, but all of a sudden I just felt like I needed to write something. And I guess one of the purposes would be to write an inspirational story, particularly for young people, with some good symbolism and some good morals, and still have adventure involved as well.
Well, James, were you always wanting to be a writer and publish material? How did this come about? Is this something you planned ever since you were young, or it just kind of came up?
It just came up.
Okay.
All of a sudden one day, never thought about it. The next day, all of a sudden I felt an inclination that I was supposed to write a book. And in fact, the full title of the book is The Child of the King, the Sapphire.
That's right, I forgot to put
That's
that.
okay, and it's a part of, it's the first book of a 4-part series called a tetralogy. And so I've started working on the second book now, and I have ideas and outlines for the third and fourth books already.
Well, let's let Katie Anna know your background, because you know not everybody has always wanted to start off whenever the timing was right to become an author. The funny thing is, we're always doing something else, and all of a sudden we turn author. What is some of your background as far as your livelihood in the years of making a living, or still making a living? Mm-hmm. You want to share what you're doing or done?
Sure. I'll just start high school. I grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Baton Rouge High. I was a Baton Rouge High Bulldog. And I went to school, undergraduate school at William Jewell College, which was way up in Liberty, Missouri. And very few people have heard of it. I played football, did football and track up there. And I went to graduate school at Washington University in St. Louis. I have a PhD in physics. Later on, I've got a master's in geology. And so I work in the oil and gas industry as a geophysicist.
Okay, that's what I wanted brought out and all that. Well, we've had some prior conversation, and we're doing this show to be able to put it out there, what this book is about, and also let people know in the future what you're going to be doing. Have you been to any book signings since the last time I saw you? Have you had any events going on at this time?
Not at this time.
Okay. Well, James, you can get ready, because a lot of things have happened since the last time I saw you, and doors are opening up again, and I've gone through a couple of doors where different locations and different towns are offering for me to go in with my books and my publisher. And now we're getting opportunities to bring in other authors after we go through the door. Hey, would you be interested in this author coming in? And so they kind of let us know the genre they're after. And we've been really blessed and very excited that little towns around us are opening up their libraries for us to go. Mm-hmm. So with your permission, I'd like to put you on our list to contact. Sure. And then at your convenience, whatever works best for you works best for you. You may have to say no the first time or a few times, but eventually it's ongoing. So I want to let you know, I had a note down here to ask you about the book signings, so also to inform you that a lot of things are going on, and we will be. It's just so many awesome stories out there that I don't want people to not have the opportunity to hear them. And some stories are out there, genres I wouldn't read, but yet I'm excited and I believe in the person who wrote it. And so for everybody, there's a special interest. And with your story, I think it's going to pretty well cross over to many areas. Right. Because not just one age is going to be interested in reading your book. Let's talk about some of the journey of actually writing this book. Okay. What did you do first?
Well, let me start off. I think I want to make sure and tell people that are watching the show what type of book it is.
Oh, that's what I mean.
It's an epic fantasy.
Oh, okay.
And it is it's one of those things. It's like it could be compared, if you would, to some of the books and then movies that were made afterwards, like, for example, C.S. Lewis, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, where you have an adventure. It's a fantasy, but there's some good symbolism that goes on with it. So, you know, I would say this book has, and my publisher was Zulon Press, and they're a Christian publisher. And so I would say this book could be read by either secular or religious leaning people. And but it's a book pretty much centered for middle grade students to young adults would be the main, but I think anyone who could read would enjoy it. And one of the things you have through there is you have an adventure, a lot of action that goes on, and you also have some strong morals that go in their theme through there. Things like loyalty, do the right thing, forgiveness.
Well, that sounds like the message. I was going to ask the question. Do you have a particular message in this book? And you already just said it.
Well, and if I were to say there was a moral for this very first book, what I would say is that every child, both all little girls and all little boys, are special in God's eyes. And that's really the message. And the way this book is set up, just to give you just the quick thumbprint of it, it takes place in a magical world that's ruled by a benevolent king and queen. In other words, a very good that want the best for their people.
Okay.
And the story starts off right in the beginning, where the bad character, the bad guy in the book, his name is Droka, and he tries to overturn the king and queen and attacks the palace. And the king and queen have to send their little child, it's a little baby girl, off into hiding in a secret land to try to protect her life so he can't take her life and end the royal bloodline for this particular world. And that's kind of the storyline. And she has a special protector who's a young man who devotes his life to taking care of her, raising her, and protecting her from the people that wanted to take her life. And
you know, as parents, that would be a very hard decision to send off your child, but you're going to do what's best for the child.
Yes.
So that proves that there's going to be different adventures and different trials, and I'm believing a good outcome through it all, you know, and that is wonderful. For people who've actually had the opportunity to read your book, are you getting some feedback from anyone like your readers, or maybe somebody you've talked to that's read your book?
Yes. You know, I've got a lot of good feedback. And I guess the most excited people have been some of the middle-aged boys that like all the drama and the action, or the fighting for the different conflicts. Because what I try to do through there is to try to keep the story moving, and so there's a lot of conflict and resolution of theirs. But really young girls as well, because the main character is a young girl. Her name is Anya, and she's growing up. And she's very special. She's the child of the king.
Well, I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, wow, that is a plus win-win to even hear that a young person is actually reading a book. Or is it in book form, or is he reading it through internet, e-books, or Kindles? Is he doing all of this? Do you know what source?
The book is available on Amazon, that you could look up J.H. Crane, Child of the King, and it'll come up. It's available on Amazon, I think also Barnes & Noble. And it's also available in e-book as well. So
anyone that'll just remember your name is J.H. Crane, or James Crane, author, and your books will automatically come up if they're interested.
That's correct.
They go from there. I tell you what, there's so many awesome outlets to get it out there. My goal is, by having you on this show, my part, what I can do, if everybody does a little bit, you know, sharing the information. I mean, I'm excited to have you on the show. We're believing that all the technical problems have been solved, and that we're going to be able to automatically hand this in to air on AOC. And then from there, it's going to be handed directly into my graphics man that will put it on YouTube. Then from YouTube, I get to share it on Facebook. And James, let me tell you what, I can't say it on air right now, but we have been approached by only my publisher and I know in regard to another author. I can tell you that important people are monitoring Facebook and all these little outlets. So, but you got to put it out there.
Yes.
Don't get worried as an author, James, of putting it on there too much. Last night, I'm going to share with you, the Writers Guild of Acadiana had its meeting. We were airing and we were showcasing as a guest speaker one of my recent guests here, and she's part of the Writers Guild now, and she's an advocate for the abused children, and she's written 2 books, and very, very good, based on real facts but fiction. And I can tell you, the turnout last night, there was not enough chairs at Barnes & Noble. And it happened only one time before when a New York bestseller came in. And I'm here to tell you that here we go again. They want to know what I did, what we did to be able to get that many people in there. And I said, first of all, God's favor. And number 2, Facebooking, networking, sharing and sharing and sharing. It was so many people that they asked her to come back where Barnes & Noble could showcase her themselves.
Right.
And her books were on the Amazon.com, but she was in person here, and she had books. But then the rules of Barnes & Noble, you really can't sell your books, but you can tell people where they're available. Kind of like rules and all this. But they were so impressed with the outcome with her that they've invited her back to be able to do a show. So it was a blessing. It was a blessing.
That's great.
I'm telling you, the only thing I'm doing is running my mouth and sharing and putting flyers up announcing. Someone's got to do something. So I physically don't run all over the place, but the internet has been a blessing for me. So I'm here to tell you, you are James H. Crane, author, Child of the King, the Sapphire, the first of 4 books to come.
Yes.
Do you even use any of these little outsourcing resources? If not, you need to think about it.
Okay.
Because it is amazing how far I can travel, even to Hollywood.
Yes.
Okay.
There, on that note, my publisher, Zulon Press, actually released a video on YouTube about my book.
All right, then I'm going to have to check that out.
And so if you go on YouTube or also GodTube, you can look. There's a
to get more information.
There's a video that goes, and again, it's J.H. Crane, Child of the King, and you'd be able to pull it up, and it goes through there and has some scenes, tells a little bit about the book as you're going through, and through this video, and it's entertaining and very nice.
Well, you see, I've got my arms crossed, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's sitting there, but how are people going to know if you don't keep telling them where it's at?
That's right, exactly.
And this is what's awesome about Acadiana Open Channel, because of the fact that they now put some of our shows on their YouTube, and they help us showcase and all this. And this is a community free access station. You know, we don't do commercials and things like that, but we sure do have so much opportunity to tell people about events going on, authors, businesses, and things like that, visions. And I'm just excited to know that you do have this. You're going to step ahead, and you've actually been able to put your video about your book out there. And that's called good marketing. Good marketing. But sometimes we have to help out our marketing people. We have to, hey, people want to see the author. They want to hear from the author. They don't want to hear of. They want to actually meet. And so that's one of the visions I had of introducing authors, and out of it all, what I get out of it is organizing that comes natural to me, and to have that author showcased and featured, and they are able to, at these events, what the twist is, free. You get 100% of whatever you sell your books for at my events. So needless to say, James, a lot of people want to be on my list, right?
I bet so.
I mean, you know, but we're blessed, and we love being a part. When I say we, it's actually my friend and I, who has a publishing company, that we're the first weekend of every month, we're going to be doing something somewhere. And we've got 1 year we're locked in. So I'm here to say that networking together and it's telling as many people about your book as can. Okay, you just mentioned where else, where people, if they're interested, they can check out, they can visit the webpage, they can visit YouTube or GodTube and all that. That's good information to kind of always remind people.
Right.
Because even if they may have already purchased the books, they may know people who would love to read the book. One person tells one person, and it keeps on and on. So networking And community gathering really
Sure.
makes a difference. You
One of
know
the
that in the field that you've been in.
I do. One of the things I'd like to encourage people, because I basically was saying just a little while ago that I had no desire to write whatsoever.
Right.
And then all of a sudden came. But I'd like to encourage the viewers of your show that if they have a story to tell, don't say, well, I can't do that, because you can't. You just have to set your mind to it, you work at it, and you write it, because a lot of people ask me, how do you have time to write a 45,000-word book and do all the time? Well, it does take time, but you just have to set your mind to it and work. One of the things I did was to join the Writers Guild of Acadiana and got some good ideas about different things I could do there. I also took a short course in UL that was taught by, I think it was Cherie Cohen. Yes. And Googled and read and tried to come up with things. I actually ended up using an editor. His name's John David Kudrick, who lives in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So
you have to do what you
I
have to do.
actually went out of the area, but I'm sure there's plenty of editors and people they can use here. But mainly I'm just trying to say that it can be done. It
can be done, and I'm going to add to what you just said. It is not easy. I have been trying for now a year to gather professional editors from Acadiana, trying to be loyal to the local talent, and it's very hard. Acadiana, Writers Guild of Acadiana is in need of connections, if possible, to local professionals. We're reaching out to the college for the students taking this type of stuff. We need children, artists, illustrators for children books. We need people to edit for authors instead of them going to every Tom, Dick, and Harry and having to turn around, because new people writing books sometimes really get used and abused and taken advantage of, and we don't want to do that. And I say that again, that my publisher friend and I that are doing these things, we're very protective. So, unfortunately, you're right, James. You have to go out of town if you can't find the talent here, but it is needed. And so I try to put the word out there. If there's anyone who's professionally an editor or a cartoonist or an illustrator, a ghostwriter, all of this is needed, and some people who want to write the story but need some help in finishing book covers, design work, graphics, and all that. So you have to go out, and you found, and so you did your homework. And how long did it take you to actually, from beginning to end, to get your book in print on the market?
It was probably about a year and a half.
That was pretty fast. For how many words in your book?
Somewhere, I think it's about 43 to 45,000.
That's right. That's right. And over a process, but you did the right thing. You joined the organization to kind of hear some of the seasoned published people who have published, authors, and then the new ones like last night. It was amazing how many people were there because they had heard about this person and that person. So word of mouth does work, but you have to educate yourself. Yes, great stories are there, and a lot of them get lost because people they think they got to be so perfect. Just like you, write down those notes, write those stories. It's never too late. You know, later on, hey, it'll hit you and get you in the mood. Then you'll organize it. Before you know it, you'll just keep going step by step, not at one time. Doesn't have to be perfect. A lot of people think that they really have to be 100% the best writer ever to start. No, I'm not really a writer. I'm more of a storyteller. I just write good stories, and I'm taking that line that I've been given permission to use from Deborah LeBlanc, because she and I have so much in common from our background, grandmothers mentoring us. And she herself says, she's not a writer, she's a storyteller. I said, well, that's me. Do you mind if I use your line? But I write good stories, interesting stories, my genre. And so I love what she said. Everybody has a story. Just what story do you want to tell?
That's right.
You know, so, well, going further on, you already mentioned the part of the message in the stories, good morals. Okay? And I've been kind of reading different things on it, and you're right. Do you have any organizations besides the Writers Guild? If you hadn't been insistent and persistent, you wouldn't even be on this show.
That's correct.
Because you took it upon yourself at our organization that on your own choice you decided when it was time, you introduced yourself to me, I think after maybe you learned about the show or whatever, or maybe I mouthed it, told everybody. Okay, you took that step. It was a while before I got back to you because we were booked and blessed, but I still had your card. So whenever thanks to you handing me your card, then I had a resource to contact, and that's been at least a year, huh?
Yes.
Believe me, that card was pretty well used too, and then he gave me a new one so I can get rid of the old one. It's kind of ragged. But anyway, if it hadn't been for your effort to remind me that you were still there, even though I still had your card, I let you know. Promise you, when the timing's right, you were going to come in.
Well, that's one of the things that writers can do. You know, I just made a number of these little cards where
that is
I had
the best marketing.
Book,
yeah,
the front of the book there, and then on the back, the author's name, how to contact me, and it says it's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and also at Zulon Press. So,
you know, lots of times we do our best when we start writing stuff, and if you got a card, all that information is, there. Sorry about that, people. I couldn't see my director there giving me signals. And so with a card, it's so nice. It is so worth not having to write it down or letting the person write it down, and half the time we get it wrong. It's a card. And something was brought up. I hadn't done it yet, but I guess I will. Sometimes people with the abundance of cards will go to different locations, and I know I've seen cards on the ground I picked up and kept. I didn't realize it was being done on purpose. And some of those have been on my show too. Isn't it amazing?
yes.
So if you have cards, it can be a good way to share and let people know. Drinking coffee, I mean, I thought that was only for television, put something, tip or put a note under the cup, but no, cards are being left under, or sitting on a bench, even at the library, or even at Barnes & Noble, there's cards on the bench that you're sitting on. I thought, all this time it was accidents, but now I'm realizing it was on purpose. So I'm going to take that idea. I think when I have an extra amount of cards, because I love the cards, and I don't want to waste anything, but if one person picks up, that's not wasting, is it?
No, it's not.
So I'm changing. See, I've got to grow with the seasons and the change of the seasons. We already know that you've gotten great feedback. Okay, is there any particular area that you would love to go and be invited to talk about your book, other than just regular book signings? Is there a certain area? Is there any desire in your heart to go to a certain place and be able to talk about your book?
I've attended several, I guess they would be writers' conferences, where they invite authors that go write and give a talk about their speech or about the books that they've written. I've attended several of those, and those are nice. And of course, if my book ever got to the point where it had enough interest for me to be invited, I certainly wouldn't mind at all to be able to go to
Well, we're not going to say
things.
if here, we're going to say when.
When.
But the most important thing, I'm going to ask you a question.
Sure.
Do you take it upon yourself to try to go to events to support other authors? Has that opportunity arose for you?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to make a statement. I try my best to go and support anybody I personally know that's out there. And even though I may not be able to purchase a book every time, my goal is to try. But being out there just in support and motivating and all this has worked for me. And I brought that up to say this. James, I was approached the other day and they said, Sudie, why do you have so many people that tend to know you? And I used to joke around and say, well, look, guys, I'm 67 years old. I've been on this planet for a while now. But I've actually got out there to support them. And if I go support you, then it's kind of like we reap what we sow. Then those people are going to come back and try to support me. But the most important thing is who's going to know you if you don't get out there? Even if you're not the featured author, go out and support your author that's out there. And I'm telling you that to say this. We had an event this weekend in Grand Coteau featuring Diane Alexander, the only surviving victim of of Derek Todd Lee, the serial killer. And I've been plugging, had special flyer made for anybody's we're going to feature and having everybody share it. And so I'm believing it's going to be an awesome turnout, which is what we did for Barnes & Noble, and look what happened.
Yes.
But hey, I got to get on that computer and I got to send that flyer and I got to send out emails reminding people. It's not just out there one time and everybody loves me and they're going to come see me, you know. And I said that to say this, okay, so we have this author coming out there and I'm encouraging people to come out there. But guess what? Come out, authors, because sooner or later you're going to be there featured by us also, and we're doing the best we can. So I want to put it out there and thank the Thinstead Center in Grand Coteau, Louisiana, who's opened up their doors for us to feature authors 10 to 2 every first Saturday of the month. And we're getting close to the end of the show, and we want to remind the people who you are, but also tune in every Monday night at 9 o'clock. Just might be James talking about this book or his second book or his third book or his fourth. Until then, what would you like to say as the closing credits?
Just that I appreciate you inviting me on your show and having a chance to do this. And I guess lastly, I dedicated this book to my mother who passed away in 2001, Sarah McNeely Crane. And that's one of the things you can do when you write a book. You can dedicate it.
You dedicate it in memory of, and I've done that too before.
Yes.
And as you can see on the screen, I hope you made notes because you'll be hearing more about us and our book signings and featuring our author, J.H. Crane, with The Child of the King, Sapphire, Book 1. Until then, tune in every Monday night at 9 p.m. You just never know. It might be you that we're showcasing.